Hello and welcome to the first episode of Midierror Meets, the monthly podcast where we talk to a wide range of people from the music industry. This month it's Cheryl Pinero, bass badass extraordinaire for bands like the Go Team, the Ravens, Kwong, the Microdance, Salt Ashes and more. She's also starred in the music video for High Contrast Shotgun Mouthwash on the Trainspotting 2 soundtrack, as well as appearing in the Guitar Hero series of games as a secret character. I spoke to Cheryl earlier this year in central London, where we had a nice cup of tea, and we spoke about her influences, her career, her motivations, and the industry in general. So let's hear what she's got to say. Okay, well, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you. I want to ask you about your early memories of music, where sort of music started for you.
I guess maybe if I go back, I think I'd started remembering it from like the age of 5, around that time, when I had music television for the first time. Mm-hmm. And I was watching that basically all day when my parents weren't home, and I could turn on the TV. And I remember seeing bands like, No Doubt and like Gwen Stefani. It was like super cool. So I was like, oh man, I want to be on stage and do push-ups, and rock out. And it started there. So yeah, it's like 90s music and like rock music.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, MTV sort of made music videos quite big, didn't it? Like,
exactly.
The fast cutting of videos started to happen.
Yeah, and there was like no commercials. It was like one music video after another one, and that's like what you watched all day. And then in between they had shows where they were interviewing artists. Like it was a whole different era to now,
Definitely, and I think the music industry in the 90s was also like an amazing thing.
Yeah.
In terms of like the money they had and
the music videos that they made, like it was an actual thing.
Yeah. Like
turning on the TV and like going to see, MTV or it was called Viva in Germany, so this was like a music channel. Mm-hmm. And just watch that as much as you wanted. Like they even had like one that had no shows at all, so it was just music videos all day, and you can send a text message to like vote for your favorite music video to come on. Mm-hmm. And then you would wait the whole day to see if there were enough votes so that you could see it. And so, but it was cool because you could kind of see what was really popular at that time.
Yeah.
So like some music videos that would run like 3 times a day because that song was so popular, it was a completely different era, but it was cool.
Yeah, I remember those days were amazing. Do you have so when did you sort of pick up, did you like aspire to be Gwen Stefani, I guess?
She was awesome.
She was amazing.
She was the first woman I think I've seen on TV that like in rock music where I was like, oh man, she's awesome,
Mm-hmm. And she's still awesome.
She's like a vampire. She doesn't age. Still a babe. Yeah.
Cool. And so when did you go from like watching the television to being like, A, I want to do that, and B, give me something to make music with? Like when did that sort of start for you?
I think when I was like 9, my sister got an electric guitar from my dad, but she never really picked it up. And I remember, this is like really weird, but I remember watching, like, as I said, music videos all day when my parents were at work. And there was a song called Freestyler by the Bomfunk MCs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that
very well, yes. Yeah.
And I was like, I saw a live performance, on TV. And the bass line in that song is it's more of a bass synth actually, but they had a bass player, like massive hair, and when he played that on stage, I don't know, something changed in me, and I absolutely loved that song back then. I still love it actually. It's a cool song, but
the bass line's amazing.
It's very catchy. Yeah. It's
yeah,
so
like
cool.
the drum
And the rhythm
fills
is really
again.
weird too.
Yeah.
So I just watched him, and I couldn't get that sound out of my ears. So when my dad came home the same night, I already opened the door before he even came in, and I was like, I want to learn the guitar. And he was like, well, your sister has one, so just take that one. I was like, no, the one with the 4 strings. And he was like, oh, bass. And I was like, yes, whatever that's called, And then he was like, oh, you can't play that. And yeah, he said I can't play because my hands were too small and because it's for boys. So they obviously like that made me want it even more because I just wanted to prove him wrong.
Yeah.
So I picked it up when I was finally with 13. I got my bass guitar, my first bass, and I started playing right away.
You studied in Aberdeen, is that right?
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah. My education is not music based at all. So I did my master's degree in Aberdeen, and I moved to London just after to then fuck it all and play music, basically.
Yeah, great. What did you study then in Aberdeen?
International business.
Really?
I have 2 business degrees, so.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people say to you, I would never have imagined that you did this?
I know, it's a bit like there's a different side to me as well. Like, I kind of like that I can do different jobs, and it gives me maybe a little bit of security in terms of just a peace of mind, really. If the music thing doesn't work out, I can go back to being business Cheryl,
That's really interesting, Cheryl.
Yeah, I know.
I guess some of those skills are transferable. I guess it makes you well organised, and
absolutely,
it means you're good with numbers,
good with teams.
You're not sort of overwhelmed by a lot of information. You're probably quite good at categorising it. And things.
It's also like understanding. I mean, the business industry, like any industry, is like, it takes a while until you get the hang of it, and you understand how things work. But especially music business is kind of brutal. So it's good to, understand the language that people are speaking about you, especially in terms of money and whatever, branding, marketing, anything, So
yeah, that's also
what you're getting yourself into, Yeah, so it helps. I don't have any regrets in spending years of my life.
That's cool. So you sort of moved down to London with the fire inside to go and hit the music industry.
Like I've always played music anyway, but then I was like this. I'm gonna do it 100%. Like at least I'm gonna give it the go 100%. It's like you have to make that decision. I think, otherwise you will be in between. Like it was never just a hobby anyway. But like it takes some balls, I think, to like really be like, okay, I'm gonna put my career on hold, or whatever you were building up to that point, and then just go and start something almost completely new. It's just a different approach to how you were doing it before, and that takes some, I don't know, like convincing for yourself as well.
Yeah, I think it's probably would be looked at on paper as like a high risk strategy.
Absolutely.
But in actual fact, to get where you want to go, you need to take risks. I think it is a high risk strategy, but you wouldn't excel without those risks,
That's the thing, like possibly the best things in life, they could happen if you go in 100%, like if you dive in, if you're like, it's because risk is like, it's scary, but like if you don't do it 100%, you can't get the 100% in the best scenario. So, and there's always a chance that it's a lose-lose situation, but it might also be a win-win situation. So.
Exactly, and I think for you it seems to be like a very good decision. You became super successful. You're in such an amazing list of bands.
Thank you.
Because I've read a lot about Queen Kwong over the last few days and realised that, she's like...
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, she seems to be really well established and well respected, sort of internationally.
The band is basically the, Curry Calloway. She is Queen Kwong, basically. I saw her at in London, when was that, in December 2015, I think. I saw her play with my friends. And we just had a conversation, and I've heard of her before through my former bandmates and other friends, but I've never seen her live, and she's known for being a really great performer. So we went down to see her. She was amazing, and then I saw her at the Green Door Store in Brighton again.
Oh wow, great venue, love that venue.
Absolutely, so punk.
Yeah, sort of
perfect venue for her as well. It was a really cool show. And I was really impressed. I mean, what she pulls off on stage and like the energy that they create, I was so impressed. And yeah, we became friends, you know. And then it just she changed her lineup in the year after, and it kind of just happened. It just came together. So I started playing bass for them, for the UK show. So yeah, it's really cool, and I'm really happy about that. It's
yeah, because she's got quote from, she was found by Trent Reznor.
Yeah.
It says when she was like 17. I mean, that's no mean feat. That's pretty big.
She's
isn't it?
super awesome. Like, and like, you know, like we're like more or less the same age and everything. Like, it's really, you know, it's, if you meet someone who's like you're really impressed by, you have a lot of respect for, and then to be on stage with someone performing together, like, it's just the best thing ever, you know. Like,
yeah, it must be incredible. And I can't imagine because you say about like her presence or her energy on stage.
Yeah.
And that was what caught me about you. Like, and I think me and my friend just spent the whole gig talking about how cool you looked and how much presence you had, and I don't think I even looked at the other two band members for the whole gig. It's like, oh, that girl's so amazing. What is it about this girl?
thank you.
You know, like the way, yeah, you have this amazing energy of magnetism. You've written magnetism in your bio, and I think that's a really good way to sum it up.
It is. Thank you very much. I mean, it's always like, you know, if you're a musician, like for me, like, I don't see myself just as a musician. I do see myself also as a performer. But I'm a bass player. You know, I'm mainly a bass player. But like, the performance is absolutely connected to everything I do. I've never been one of those. Even when I was young, I was never one of those people who went on stage and like never moved. Like, I've been a headbanger forever, you know. And it's because when I saw bands play, that is what, you know, what I found like amazing about them. Like, they literally go out of themselves to put down a performance and to like create this energy that sucks you in when you see them. And you can't get out until the show is over. And then I
think that's what happens. I think you've captured that. I don't know how you've done it. It's like a magic spell.
I hope so. Thank you.
Let's talk about the Ravens for a minute, because that's like
That's my band.
Yeah, and that's, I don't know, like when I see your stuff when you're playing and when you're together, it's like, yeah, those are the right people together.
Literally. So we formed this band in July 2015, and basically none of us really knew each other. Jimmy and Robbie came together because at one point they both sessioned for this artist called Ebony Bones, but never in the same lineup.
Oh, really?
But the guy that was either with Jimmy or with Robbie thought that they would really get along, so he was like, I think you should meet each other.
Awesome.
So they hung out one day, had a beer, and then they decided, okay, let's play some music. So they started jamming. I don't even know if it was in the same night, but basically the song Come and Get Me, that is like the original Raven song. So they started jamming this one and then made a recording, a really rough one. And meanwhile, we wrapped the Guitar Hero shoot, and I met Jimmy at the rap party, and we were both quite drunk. But we had a brief conversation. I basically just told him that he's an amazing drummer. You know, I was like, oh, you're the coolest looking drummer ever. And he was like, oh my god. And we were friends on Facebook, but you know how, I mean, social media is like connecting, you know, and you don't always have an instant conversation, even though you know each other. So he hit me up after they had this jam, and he was like, hey Cheryl, I think we never met. And I was like, yeah, we totally did. And he was so embarrassed. It was hilarious. But then he basically saw a picture of me, and he was like, that's the bass player that we want to have. So he asked me, and I listened to that song, and I wrote a bass line over it, and it sounded already really cool. And so we were kind of a band already, and then we were looking for a singer, but I wanted to have a female singer. So I was like, I wanted to be two girls, two boys, because, you know, I love playing with female artists. But, you know, I just
there's
need
sort of
a
like
change.
an equilibrium there, isn't
Yeah,
there?
and I love that. That's what I want, you know, mixed, or, you know, I'm a feminist, so I've played with boys my whole life, you know, so I was like, let's mix it up. We're in London, I mean, come on. So.
And she came from a band that has one of the coolest names ever.
Yeah.
Was it something like She's Dead?
You love her because she's dead, yeah.
I love that band
Massive
name.
fan, yeah. So yeah, she auditioned for it. So she met us through the internet basically, found us and liked the music, came in. I wasn't even there, so we basically wrote songs piece by piece before we were even, I think Lights On and Come and Get Me were written before we even were a full band. And Julia came in and basically her audition, or whatever you want to call it, was to sing vocals on the track. And she absolutely nailed it. So Fire and Lights On were pretty much done after her audition, you know. And
Was it the take audition that's in the track?
almost. Like, we didn't change very much, actually, but it's absolutely amazing.
That's brilliant.
It was out of the question, you know. She was the first one that we wanted to see anyway, and because I already knew that, you know, this would be a really, really great combination of people.
It's so great when you can like foresee those things happening
Absolutely.
and go, oh, wouldn't it be great if this works out? And then they come in and they
nail
do
it.
nail it.
Yeah.
Am I right in thinking you self-manage yourself?
Yeah, so from that time that I think it was October then, that we were really a band, we took our photos and everything, and we literally were still writing songs for 6 months before we even started gigging, before we even played them in one room together. We were just writing. And yeah, we absolutely did everything on our own. So the writing, the recording, the mixing, masters, like, you know, we have people helping us with our pictures and stuff, but like the bookings, like literally cutting the EPs and like stamping, you know, putting stamps on them, and the t-shirts, make the designs ourselves and that stuff. You know, we work with people who are like a part of our team, but like we make the decisions all together.
That must be pretty empowering.
Yeah, I think in terms of nowadays, it might be not the way to go, but a way to go, depending on what you want, you know. But things are a little bit out of balance. So if you do that, you basically need to fund your touring yourself, and then like you need to manage your money really well, because if you want to go abroad, which we have done a couple of times, you know, it's always like getting the money to go touring and then making the money back, so, and then reinvesting it into your merch or whatever. So there is a way to make it happen, but you really have to work together.
And I think it's like we were saying before about having like the connection with people.
Is
When
the
you
most
have that
important.
connection, you're able to do the things beyond just,
Yeah.
you know, like
Like-
ABC band stuff. You know, you're able to. I know, and I guess if you really feel the music, you're also passionate and you want to get it out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that helps in management.
I mean, it's like
too.
being on stage with the Ravens is like looking at it. Like, I have that with everyone that I play with anyway, but if it's your own project and you write your own music, you know, it adds something extra special to it anyway. But like, you're on stage playing together, sound is like really getting to you as well, and that radiates back to the audience ideally, you know. So it's like being impressed by what is going on stage, you know, and then really enjoying it. I love that.
Yeah, and maybe a feeling of like, fuck, we did something amazing tonight. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, you're not just a bass player, are you?
Well, I love doing different things. Yeah, I love playing bass. That's always number one. But yeah, I do different things as well.
So you did a lot of vocals with the Microdance.
Yeah. So
right?
that band, you know, basically was a bass player, but they have like male-female vocals, so I had to do all of that too. So that was probably the first band where I had to sing like play bass and sing 50-50, which was like challenging, but learned so much and such beautiful songs. Like Alex is a very talented songwriter, so yeah. So I do backing vocals, like no lead or anything like that. You know.
Yeah.
It's cool. I
You
like the
mentioned
contrast.
the synth bass, which got my ears
Yeah.
going up in the air. Because
Yeah.
I saw you with your synth pedal.
Yeah.
on
So
Instagram.
I do love Boss pedals. I've always played them. They were always kind of my choice number one. And yeah, I've recently got the SY300, so I'm like playing around with that one at the moment, which is interesting because it is. I was like trying to bridge the gap between playing bass synth, like on a keyboard, you know, and doing it on my actual bass. So that kind of pedal helps to maybe bridge the gap, you know, for live performances.
Yeah.
It also depends on the music, but I kind of like this blend of making it sound like making it sound and also making it look natural, you know, and then you have that electronic key bit on top of it.
Yeah.
So depending on the song and what was used in the production and what they would want in a live setting, the artist or, you know, the band or whatever, I guess you kind of have to find a balance for that. But I think nowadays, because there's being since like synthesizers are being used so much in music nowadays, I guess it's good to just like look and see what you can do, you know.
Yeah, like test the water. Because, for example, with Salt Ashes, a lot of the bass stuff in there is like electronic bass, isn't it? Like Save Me, which is a really great track.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, her tracks are such a good songwriter.
Yeah.
Very talented too.
Yeah, she's got a great voice, hasn't she?
Beautiful. One of, you know, the best singers I've ever met in my life. Absolutely talented. Yeah, her bass, like her bass sounds and, you know, what a synth sounds, like everything, they're really, really great. It was interesting to, you know, play for her because we were trying to find a balance for her performance as well. I would see like, okay, what am I playing? How am I playing it? You know, how is it coming together? So I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah. Shotgun mouthwash.
Yeah.
That was really, really cool. How did that come about? Because I mean, Lincoln's really well established in the music industry.
Yeah.
He's from Cardiff. I think he's from Penarth in Cardiff, and I lived in Cardiff for a long time, and so I know people that have always talked about Lincoln as like, oh God, he's, you know, the god of
it's really cool.
drum and bass. How did that come about? What was it like making that video?
Yeah, I mean the director of the video, Chris Turner, he basically approached me for it, and you know they needed a bass player for the band, you know, setting in the video, and yeah, I absolutely loved his work, so I was like, yeah, okay, I'm up for it, you know. And then I didn't even know who the artist was until like later in the process of everything getting confirmed, but it was like Lincoln is like super nice. It was such a great atmosphere on the set itself, and I mean the treatment of the video is absolutely, it was so interesting to be part of, you know, a shoot like this, very full on and like lots of action and you know, like stun people. yeah, exactly. So which is very gritty in a way, you know, and I love the mood of the video, you know, not to be like, oh, I love violence or whatever, you know, but I love like Tarantino movies, for example, you know, and it's just like kind of had like a little bit of that vibe, like.
And you're like providing the energy for that track and for the video, because until you strum the guitar, it's very quiet, and it's like
the beginning is hilarious when he's like playing that little synth.
Yeah, he turns on his Casio keyboard. Yeah.
He did really well. It's like I was really, you know, lots of respect, because like acting those bits that could not have been very easy, and he delivered like 100%. So.
Yeah, and I'm just thinking about it now, that the fact that he's like, you know, he's an established artist, and you don't often see an established artist getting punched in the face multiple times and eventually like dragged off and probably killed. I think that's it's quite a subversive idea. It's not like, you know, I'm the king, I'm the best, don't touch me, you know, I'm this mystical character.
Absolutely.
People are spitting at him and punching him. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was so much fun.
Yeah, it was amazing, and to be part of something like Trainspotting must have been incredible. Yeah,
I mean, it's a great song, you know. So I was just happy to, you know, being his bass player for the shoot. Yeah,
that totally blew my mind, because about 2 weeks before that, he started following me on Twitter. I can't because we're talking about documentaries. He talks about documentaries, and he sent me a direct message. I was like, fuck, this is crazy. He was asking me about a particular synthesizer. I was having trouble with it, and I was like, fuck, this is amazing. Like, High Contrast asked me about how to program a keyboard, and I knew like off the top of my head what to do. And then 2 weeks later, I saw you did everything. Well, this is what's
it's a
next.
whole world. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So yeah, I mean, you're like diversifying a little bit in terms of not just doing music. So yeah, you were also a character in one of the Guitar Hero games.
Yeah. that's probably one of the sickest things ever. That came. I just got a casting call for that, pretty much out of the blue, and got invited for the casting, and they needed a bass player, and I did all the same. Like, you don't necessarily know what this is until you know, you know.
So what would the casting call be? What would that look like to you?
So that's just like, female bass player, blah, blah. So you go in and like perform a song, and that's it. Like, you just perform.
And even when you're performing, would you not know what that was for?
No.
Really?
Well, it depends on the project, but what it is and how confidential or whatever. The confidentiality is always, of course, in place anyway. But so just being a bass player, and then like a few weeks later, you're like on a shoot, and things become more specific. And it was absolutely amazing experience to be part of this. And I mean, I've played the game before myself, former versions. Was always really bad at it too.
I was gonna ask you about that.
Oh god, I suck.
You should be pretty good, shouldn't you?
Oh my god, but it's just like crazy, how these things are being done. It's very interesting. Absolutely.
So did they do like motion capture of you?
Yeah, we did mocap, and then basically perform the songs. And because it's like, because the mood changes depending on how good or bad you play, you have to like act a little bit in terms of your expression, and be like, what are you doing? Get it together, the kind of stuff, which is like just hilarious. It was also challenging, so I learned a lot, like camera movements and like, everything happens so fast, and getting directions, and it's cool, amazing experience.
It is amazing, yeah. I'm a big computer games fan at heart, like retro games and stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess what those things are is like a bridge between like being able to play an instrument and sort of just being able to like push buttons.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, it's an amazing thing to cross over for people to play computer games and see these people on stage. And sort of feel, I could maybe do that. I could perform. They make it so real, don't they? Because the crowd's all like going crazy when you're playing well,
exactly.
and they like walk away when you're playing badly.
Yeah.
I think it's sort of an incentive for kids to maybe think about being in bands.
It's like the ideal, like, I mean, if you're good, it's like the ideal situation that is like kind of, being created there. But I do love the concept of Guitar Hero Live, and like it's not animated anymore. It makes it like so much more real when you play the game. I mean, absolutely. And I mean, I met Jimmy through this, and a lot of other amazing musicians. So absolutely, that will always be very special to me.
Yeah. I think when you have that like synchronicity, when something else comes from something else, that was like the right place to be.
Exactly, like, the right people, and And I mean, like people were like following me because of the game, which is like super surreal.
You also did a session for BBC Introducing in the South, didn't you?
Yeah, that was fun. Melita, she's hilarious. That was fun. Bit nerve-wracking, to be. I've been on radio in years until that point, but I think it turned out to be like a really, really cool performance. And I mean, Vega, she's super consistent, smashes it every time. Anyway, but that was a really nice radio session actually. Super chill vibes.
Yeah, Melita's really good.
Yeah.
I submitted a track for BBC Introducing when I first moved down south. And she played that track last.
That's
the
awesome.
First week I'd submitted a track ever to Introducing down south. And I pretty much blew my mind. Because I was just like, I know what, I just send this. And she played it last. And I was like, wow, she's cool.
Really cool, yeah,
so
I like her.
Yeah, she's really good. And she said you were great as well. She said
I think she called me badass.
Who wrote your bio on your website? This is just a...
So I have a friend who's a copywriter, so I did not write that by myself.
Right, that is awesome.
Yeah, he's very talented.
like I write product reviews for our company, and I'm always reading artist bios, and a lot of the time it's like a balance of like, this is absolute bullshit, this isn't real, they're overshooting this personality, or it's just bland and like 7 pages of once upon a time. But yours is like
yeah, we did not want that, you know.
But yours is like there's no bollocks in it. Everything that you're saying in that bio, it's just so well written. And take it from me, I've read thousands of them, and yours really punches. It's really good. So whoever wrote that is very.
He knows
very
me really
talented.
well. Like we played, you know, we've played together. We've, you know, worked together as musicians as well, and we're friends. Like he knows me really well. So, you know, thanks to him, he nailed it.
Yeah, he really did nail it.
And it's like. It is a bit weird when other people write about you, you know, because of, you know, it can be quite a bit overwhelming sometimes as well. But you know, but I liked what he did, and I was like, yeah, I think that's it, you know.
Yeah. And I think the key to it is it's like not overselling it.
No,
there's no need to
and not to be
oversell
too
it.
humble either, you know. Depending on obviously what this is for, but if people wanted to read something about you, and there isn't any other media anyway, you know, because if you're like a musician in London, like there is a gazillion musicians in London, you know what I mean? But if anyone made the effort to specifically find you, then, you know, at least they get like kind of an idea hopefully about you, and then they look into your music maybe, or whatever, you know, happens, and that's
I think
cool.
it's excellent. I always say like they've got a punch, like those sort of, I guess in terms of like, for people who want to be in music, having a good bio is really
very important. Yeah, you got to set the first impression if you can't make that through your performance or personally, you know. So if that's where people find you at first, you got to leave an impression somehow. So maybe not once upon a time, you know.
With some really talented photographers.
Yeah, they're absolutely smashing it. So I mean,
what's the girl's name? Chiara? Is it
yeah,
Chiara?
so Chiara Cecchioni. So she is, I mean, one of my closest friends. Absolutely so talented, and she does a lot of work for the Ravens. So I met her through the band, through Julia, and so she does like all the artwork. Any design that we want to come up with, like video content, anything, the girl can like literally do anything. So yeah, she's amazing.
It's so good to have those people that are like multifaceted.
Absolutely, such a sick photographer as well. But like I said, it's the same thing. Like if you have a chemistry with the people behind the lens, you know, like it will radiate. Like you feel comfortable and you trust them. And with Chiara, I always know good will come out of this. You know, so you're just like you're more loose anyway. Like natural, you know, because you know they know what they're doing, you know what you're doing, and then the outcome can only be good in that case, you know.
Did you have dreams of being on stage? Did you? What part of it did you want?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of came like, you know, when the first time you do it and it changes something in you. It's just like that song I heard and I wanted to start playing bass. It's like it makes click in your head, and then you're like, wow, this was like an ultimate experience. I want to do more of that, you know. But then in order for you to do that, you need to work hard to do that again, to maintain doing that, and, you know, to maybe do even more once you have become better at that, you know. So it doesn't happen if you don't study your instrument, if you don't practice, if you don't, you know, even maybe work on your performance, but in however way that is. So it's like you have to put in the work to excel in the best case, or however good you want to be. And if that's, you know, whether you just enjoy playing music, write for yourself, you don't want to be in a band or play with other people, that's totally cool. Just depends on what you want. But yeah,
I think that's really good advice. I
think
that's really good advice for young people, is like that perseverance, that determination.
The intention for me was not to become famous, you know, like, or is not, you know, it's, I love playing bass and that's what I want to do, and you know, if I succeed, you know, earning my income with that, then that's absolutely like the best possible, like, I could have done. It helps me to be versatile and to be able to do different things, like being comfortable obviously playing bass, being on stage, playing different kinds of music, you know, if I love it, and performing with all different kinds of performance, bands, and, you know, being in front of the camera, whether that's for photos, videos, video games, or I don't even know, you know, like, I mean, I'm very lucky. I consider myself really lucky to, that I had these opportunities to, you know, explore myself even, you know.
Yeah.
But,
and I think you've taken those opportunities, you know, when they've come along, which is another key sort of character trait. It does lead me perfectly onto a question, which was, where is your comfort zone?
I don't even know. I guess I don't know. I mean, I think at the moment I really try not to get comfortable. Like the second I feel like, oh, like this is flowing really well. You know what? I mean, life gets in between anyway, so things are constantly changing, and I guess the comfort zone would be to play a headline tour with my own band. Like that would be a really nice comfort to have right now. But I think for me it was like working really hard and you know, trying to do the things that I really want to do and playing with the people I really want to play with. You know, if the opportunities come up and whatever, to just make that work itself. And then the comfort is when you're on tour and you play every night and you travel and you see the world and that's your job. Like that is literally the most amazing experience ever, because you worked really hard to get to this point, and then you can like basically sit back for a second and just focus on your performance and then give it all every night, you know, in different cities, different countries. That's, I guess, a comfort zone in itself, you know. Yeah. I mean, even for me, like I've been actually, sound-wise, I get a lot of inspiration, probably most inspiration from guitar players. Because those were always like, you know, I mean, growing up like, you know, in a small town, like with hardly any music scene around you. And then barely having internet back in the day, you know, like there's so much information that you can get. So there were a lot of guitarists that I look up to in terms of the performance and the sound, and like John Frusciante, for example, from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like a major influence. I think that guy is so talented, and I love like the sound elements that he uses. And then I don't know, like I guess without even like saying that is influencing me as a bass player, but there is some kind of influence there, definitely from the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Some channeling.
Yeah, like just in terms of the energy that they create with their sounds in one song. Placebo as well. They're amazing bass lines, man. The rhythm section, like all of them. I absolutely, Placebo's like one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
And Block Party, like those two bands also, they had a major influence on me growing up. But yeah, it's just like a vibe thing, I think. Even like Block Party, like they probably changed my life. You know, that was the band that got me into indie and alternative music in the first place. Yeah.
Wow, really? When would that have been?
So when I was like into rock music, and I listened to a lot of like, I don't know, like AC/DC, Kiss, the Donnas. They were one of my favorite bands growing up. And when I got into my first indie band, they were like talking about indie music, and I was like, whoa, what is that? You know, I wasn't, even though I heard like, you know, Bankhead like in the charts or whatever, but they were like, they sent me home. So I was in the band already, but they sent me home, and they were like, Cheryl, listen to Silent Alarm by Block Party and the first Interpol record that came out then, you know. And then I was like, okay. So I listened to it, and I mean, that was like the kind of music that you need to get into in order to understand it, right? So it took me a while, but man, after that, I could never go back. You know? Yeah. Silent Alarm is like one of my absolute favorite records ever. You know, and I think Kelly is such an amazing songwriter and artist.
Yeah, he's got a great voice.
Oh my god, I love his voice so much. And like the way he writes and the way he sings. And they have that electronic influence as well, you know, because
definitely
it comes back to like listening to that 90s music, you know, and then you're in indie music, and then electronic music kind of comes bathat has always been a very interesting mix to me. So
yeah. They are a great, but I mean, even like lyrically, it's quite emotional. It's quite sort of fragile lyrics sometimes, but they're really, you know, people connect to that because everyone's
it's so real sometimes. Like it hurts, you know. It's like with the Placebo song too. Like sometimes you hear stuff they sing and you're like,
Oh God, I don't think. Yeah, there's so many songs that I'm like, fuck, that just sums everything up.
The whole thing you may be going through or whatever, drama is going on. But like it's a beautiful because you can connect to that, and that's ideally what you would want if you write music, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, how do you find writing song lyrics?
I do. Well, I'm more of a co-writer. But I mean, I love to be involved, if there's something that I want to put on top of it. And I think that's the beauty of it when you create together. It's like some person came with with the concept of having the lyrics about this and that, and you're not even sure, unless you maybe have a very open conversation about it. Yeah. But then you have your own interpretation if you go through that, whether that's the music or the lyrics, and you add something to it, and it kind of makes sense, but the sense gets maybe broader. Or it can have even more interpretations then, and that's beautiful.
Yeah, and it will become a collective sense then. It's not
exactly. Yeah. Or each individual in the band could have a completely different idea of what the song is about and what they think it is about. What they take from it, and that's the beauty of it. Some people could hear a song and think that it makes them really happy, but then the lyrics are super dark, and maybe they're still happy hearing it, So whereas another person's like, oh my god, that song is like makes me so emotional,
Yeah. And the other weird thing, I was listening to Six Music the other day, and somebody was talking about like how how songs change over time. You listen to a song 20 years later, and you're like, fuck, that means so much more, so much so many different things
different
to me
meaning,
now than it did back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's hilarious sometimes, actually. I mean, it took me a while to understand the Spice Girls to become one.
Good example.
That really took me a few years, and I was like, did I really sing that in the car when my parents were driving me around when I was like 10? That's one funny example.
Exactly. That's a great example, isn't it? Because there's an undertone to that that's not understood until you're a little bit older. What is it? Do you have anything that you can go to that like always lifts your spirits, that always like makes you feel good?
Definitely any beach in the world. I think if I need a break from, craziness, can become a bit overwhelming in London and in music. Being in nature is literally the one thing that saves me and my mind, because you just shut up, you turn off your phone and just listen to music and like chill at the beach or like take a walk through the forest or something, like really grounding. I think staying grounded is really important.
Yeah, so, one of my questions is like, do you have a mantra for your life, or do you have like any sort of approach to like life?
A way to go by?
Yeah.
I think in an ideal situation, like if you want to call it a mantra or whatever, I think it would be dive in, dive deep. So, like once you go for it, you go for it. That's like the ultimate kind of way of living for me, which is difficult, but maybe that would be it then. Yeah.
Cool. I guess I don't want these things to be like a promotional tool, like a lot of interviews are, where it's like, oh, so what's your album that you've got out? But I guess it's good for people to know, for example, like where can people see you play coming up? Where can they buy your music if they'd like to?
Yeah. So in terms of gigs, I will be touring with Queen Kwong in July, so we'll have a tour throughout the UK, a small one. Instagram, Cheryl Pinero or CherylPinero.com. There's all my tour dates on there. If anyone, just tweet me.
People can find you now.
Yeah, just find me on Twitter and tweet me. Send me a message.
Great. Well, thank you very much for talking to me. I really appreciate that. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Yes, you too. Thank you.
That was Cheryl Pinero. An absolute joy to talk to her, and I make no apologies for sounding like a fanboy during that interview. I'll try and rein it in a bit in future episodes. Okay, next month we're talking to a computer game composer, sound engineer, and all-round top bloke. So check it out, it's going to be out in November. Like and subscribe to the podcast, share it around on anti-social media. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Midierror, and I'll see you next month.